Hi guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a dedicated audio review of the Pixel 5. Now if you're interested in the full-length review of the Pixel 5, do check it down in the description below, or indeed on your pop-up banner. Also down there you'll find a link to my Instagram, so I'd very much appreciate a follow. It's at TotallyDubbed. And if you're interested in all-electric or hybrid vehicles, do check out TotallyEV. Your support would be greatly appreciated. So let's see how the audio performs on the Google Pixel 5. So first off, I just want to talk about the setup because it's a little bit unique. This phone has not only a downward firing speaker at the bottom right of it, but it's also got one built onto the display, which is over here. The reason I say around here is because I don't have the schematics of the phone, and when I asked Google, they weren't able to share that with me. So in other words, I feel that the speaker is located somewhere here from where I can hear, normally where you'd place your ears. There is also some cutouts where it comes to screen protectors, and I can't comment on that because I don't have a screen protector. As you can see, it doesn't come pre-applied with one, so therefore I can't comment on how it sounds, but I've seen cutouts which are around here. So all I'm saying is that the sound comes somewhere around the top portion of the display, and yes, it's under the display. There's no physical port at the top or on the sides of the phone. There is only one at the bottom grill. So now onto the sound demo. Now to give you an idea, all of these phones are running at 1080p 60 FPS on my video. It's all via the YouTube app and connected over Wi-Fi, so there's no difference there. My microphone is going to be positioned in the same way. I'm going to try and hold each of the phones in the same place. Now what I'm going to first do is play back in terms of this audio demo, and then we're going to go into a song. So first off, we're going to go with a Google Pixel 5, then going to go to the Pixel 4a, then the 4 XL, then the S20 Ultra, the Note 20 Ultra, and then the S10 Plus. Got one of the premium all-electric SUVs, and this is the Audi e-tron. It starts from £60,000, and this example that we've got here, the 55 Quattro, including all of its options, is here we've got one of the premium all-electric SUVs, and this is the Audi e-tron. It starts from £60,000, and this example that we've got here, the 55 Quattro, including all of its options, is £81,000. Now if you'd like more, blown up as of late. And here we've got one of the premium all-electric SUVs, and this is the Audi e-tron. It starts from £60,000, and this example that we've got here, it has really blown up as of late. And here we've got one of the premium all-electric SUVs, and this is the Audi e-tron. It starts from £60,000, and this example that we've as of late. And here we've got one of the premium all-electric SUVs, and this is the Audi e-tron. It starts from £60,000, and this example that £1,000. Now if you'd like more information about the different models that Audi offer, and indeed some of its competitors, do check out our full written review down below. There's also a link to... And now we're going to get into a sound demo. The song is from Priya J, as I mentioned before. It'll be down in the description below. By the way, you guys showed her a lot of love in my hands-on video and giving her thumbs up and commenting on her video. She very much appreciates that. So thank you guys. She appreciates that, and so do I. So now I'm going to go quiet and give you a sound demo. Now with the sound demo out of the way, let's get into my own opinion about these speakers. While you might not care about my subjective opinion, what I will say is that YouTube won't really replicate the sound that you'd get in real life, and that's why, well, this commentary is probably useful to you. Now in this respect, the top firing speaker is just a bit subdued. Now while it is there and gives you that somewhat stereo image, it really can't compete with physical speaker grills such as you found on the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus or even the Google Pixel 4 XL or the 4a, That top firing speaker, no matter its size, the fact that it's in open air, it has more space to breathe and therefore gives you a much more better stereo image. In this respect, the kind of stereo feel that you get on the Google Pixel 5 is subdued. If you're watching, let's say, football, Formula 1, Formula E, those type of sports, then it just sounds just a little bit lackluster. If you were listening to, let's say, podcast videos, or let's say you're watching my review on the Audi e-tron, then the difference will be less so, because the spoken speech still comes out very clearly. It's just it doesn't come out in like a wide type of soundstage. So here is its biggest flaw, is the fact that the Google Pixel 5 stereo image is just a little bit subdued, and that width and depth that you normally get with stereo front-facing speakers isn't quite there. And I know that will be pretty much a deal breaker to a lot of people out there, including myself, who loves watching content on my phone without actually having any speakers or headphones or earphones plugged in any way, shape or form. In terms of the overall sound frequency, while this might not concern a lot of people, I will say that the bass is a little bit subdued. It feels more of a flatter type of sound signature, which normally would be a great thing if you're an audiophile, but for most consumers you want to hear a little bit more of a oomph and a little bit more bassy type of sound. So therefore, when you are listening potentially to Priya's song, that bass tones that come out don't come out as prominently as they do, let's say, on the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus versus as they do on the Pixel 5. While this might be sort of sound frequency, EQ settings that Google has chosen, I do feel that limitation of that front-facing speaker is also to do with it, because it can't reproduce those low-end tones, because, well, it will be going through the display and potentially damaging the display in the long run. So just worth bearing that all in mind. Now moving on from that, we've got wireless audio, and here it's got Bluetooth, which is no surprise. Now given it's an Android device, it will be able to support up to the LDAC codec. I was able to test to the aptX codec only. I wasn't able to test for aptX adaptive. As far as I'm aware, it's not supported, but I can't confirm this because I don't have a device to test it with. In other words, a headphone, for example, the Baron Wilkins headphones, which support aptX adaptive. They're few and far between, by the way, so it's not overly to be worried about. In terms of LDAC codec, it should be supported. Again, I couldn't test this because I didn't have a compatible device in the household at the time of doing this video, but it should support it given it's an Android device. Devices on Android, I think 8 and above, in this way respect Android 11, will definitely support the LDAC codec. Let's talk about the internal audio. And here I had to use the Apple USB Type-C to 3.5mm jack adapter. Why the Apple one? Well, upon research I found that the Apple one is slightly better than the Google one, so that's why I opted for the Apple one, and indeed it did work. Now, bypassing the audio, as in the speakers and indeed the Bluetooth chip, here I was able to listen back to my audio through my headphones and also plug it into my car and listen to how it sounds on the car. What I found is that in terms of the overall volume, it's pretty dull. In other words, it really needs to be ramped up and kind of driven, and unfortunately, unless you've got a portable amplifier of sorts, then you're not just going to get that. So here I felt that the volume wasn't loud enough. Specifically in my car, I felt like even at 100% volume on this, it just I had to crank up the volume of my car, at which point I could hear quite a lot of static noise occurring, which is just because of my car's radio system. So that was pretty disappointing, to say the least. Over headphones, which I don't really have that limitation in terms of listening back to static noise, I felt the sound was pretty flat sounding, which was quite nice. While it won't give you that warmth and that great sound that you'd get in, let's say, Wolfson DAC chip that you would have found in older devices back in the days, then this Google Pixel 5 is perfectly fine for a modern day flagship, although nothing really to be shouted about given it's using a system-on-chip DAC, in this case using the Snapdragon 765G's system-on-chip in order to do the audio processing. Now, aside from all of this, another important thing here is that we're talking about a smartphone. In other words, a phone to make calls. So how is it in terms of making calls, in terms of hearing your recipient? Well, here again, it was quite hard to actually give you a kind of simulation of how it would perform, but what I will say is that in terms of hearing your recipient, it's perfectly fine, although it's still not as loud as its competitors, which provide that physical grille. Again, due to the fact that it's literally limited by glass, which is in front of it, the sound waves don't come out as well, and in this respect, it just feels just a little bit more subdued in terms of the overall sound. Now, while it does get plenty loud, when it comes to calls, it's a little bit harder to hear those frequencies in comparison to when you've got a speaker shoved up near your ear. So what I will say here is for call quality in terms of making and receiving calls, I'll say it's perfectly fine. It's not as bad as, let's say, it's stereo imaging, but it is perfectly acceptable, but just not as loud as some of its competitors. Next up, in terms of loudness, what I will say is that the speakers do get pretty loud because the speakers are kind of tuned into that mids and highs and therefore give you that more perceivable loudness that you normally wouldn't get with a speaker that's more tuned to a kind of warmer sound signature and has a bit more bass to it. As a result, blazing these tunes out on the Pixel 5 whilst taking a shower wasn't an issue whatsoever, so therefore I was able to listen to my music very comfortably without having to worry about, well, getting a Bluetooth speaker, for example. So on the whole, what do I make about the Google Pixel 5's audio reproduction? Well, first of all, I feel quite disappointed not to find a USB Type-C to 3.5mm jack adapter. So while Google has got rid of the 3.5mm jack, it would have been great to see that little adapter included in the box, which I'm sure quite a few people would actually be using. Elsewhere, in terms of the speakers themselves, well, they might be loud, but they're not exactly great in terms of their overall tonality. Specifically in terms of their mid-bass and bass reproduction, it just wasn't all that good. And furthermore, in terms of its stereo functionality, while they are stereo speakers, that speaker which is positioned underneath the display won't replicate an actual physical speaker that sits above the display like you would find in other devices out there. So personally and subjectively, as someone who loves audio, be it from listening to earphones and headphones or even true wireless and Bluetooth devices, to actually listening to a lot of, let's say, highlights of, let's say, the Formula 1 on my phone, or let's say Formula E, then I'll find that the speakers aren't that great and doesn't give me that sort of immersion that I want, that I would get on other smartphones out there. Specifically, even Google's own Pixel devices such as the Pixel 4a, which is a far cheaper device than the Pixel 5. So on the whole, I'm not too impressed with the overall speaker quality or the audio performance of the Google Pixel 5, and here, as someone who's an audio enthusiast, it's pretty disappointing. But that's my opinion and my thoughts about the Google Pixel 5's audio reproduction. Let me know in the comments below what you make of it, and indeed if you've heard it or you've got another device, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to see more independent, unbiased reviews, and furthermore, do favourite and share as it'll always help the channel grow. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed, take care and goodbye.